the beloved fairy tale for grown-ups. Neil Gaiman. Stardust. Go and catch a falling star. Winner of the Mythopoeic Award. Alright, buddy. You have to believe, otherwise it will never happen. Tristan Thorne promises to bring back a fallen star for his beloved, the hauntingly beautiful Victoria Forrester, and crosses the wall that divides his English country town from another, more dangerous world of lords and witches, all of them in search of the star. Rich with adventures and magic, Stardust is one of master storyteller Neil Gaiman's most beloved tales. Yeah. Let's get started. Original frontispiece in chapter... Oh, it's just quoting who the illustrator is. This is a really cool bookmark. I've always just... Don't kill me. I've always just folded over the pages. This is when I was younger anyways. Now I just use a sticky note that I fold inwards so it doesn't stick to the page. But yeah, here's the song part. I was kind of weirded out that I couldn't actually find like a part of it online, but everything, it really is just read like a poem. Like, no, there's no like videos of it where it's like, and here's how you sing it. It's just read like a poem. So yeah. Go and catch a falling star. Get with child a mandrake root. Tell me where all past years are, or who cleft the devil's foot. Teach me to hear mermaids singing, or to keep off envy's stinging, and find what wind serves to advance an honest mind. If thou beest born to strange sights, things invisible to see, ride 10,000 days and nights, till age snow-white hairs on thee. Thou, when thou returnest, wilt tell me, all strange wonders that befell thee, and swear nowhere lies a woman true and fair. God, I fucked myself up. If thou findest one, let me know. Such a pilgrimage were sweet, yet I would not go, though at next door we might meet. Though she were true when you met her, and last till you write your letter, yet she will be false ere I come to 2 or 3. That was pretty good until it got shitty. I loved introduction. I loved fairy tales as a boy. I love them as much now. Oh my god, I suck at reading. I do not know what I will be like as an old man, but I can confidently predict that I will love fairy tales then. 20 years ago, I found myself at a party in Tucson, Arizona. I think I've heard it called Tucson. Yeah. I was standing outside talking to the wonderful Jee-won and the wonderful editor Teresa Nielsen Hayden, grateful to be wearing a big leather jacket. How far am I in? This is 4 minutes. And if it's not the actual... Yeah, this isn't even the actual thing. I'll finish this and then I'll add 10 minutes to where we are now. So about 4 minutes. This is going to be about 15 minutes overall, I think. Grateful to be wearing a big leather jacket that had seemed foolish in the desert heat of an hour before because it was getting cold in the desert at night when I saw a falling star. It was not the momentary streak of light in the night sky that I used to call a falling star. This looked like a blazing diamond on a background of black velvet, and it fell achingly slow. Oh, it's still introduction. I don't know how much... I would skip to the start. I don't know how much stock and importance you hold in the introduction, though, so I will read it. I thought, it fell over there. I could go and get it. And I wondered whether it would be a lump of meteoric rock, or a burning diamond, or something even more unlikely. And Stardust, in its grand strokes anyway, was born in that moment. This guy loves commas as much as I love commas. I fuck with it. The village of Wall had existed in my head for some time, and a falling star seemed like an excellent reason to propel someone across that wall. I told Charles Vess my idea for a story, and 2 years later, I bought a fountain pen and a large green leatherette notebook and sprawled on the sofa at my friend Tori's strange bridge house, built over a London canal, and began to write. In my head, I was writing in about 1922. There was no fantasy genre. I was writing a book for adults, a fairy tale for those who liked and appreciated that kind of thing. I would write it with a self-conscious narrator voice and tell it as a tale. The book was published in a lushly illustrated edition by DC Comics, with painting by Charles Vess on every page. It was then published by Avon Books in their Spike imprint, and in all manner of shapes and formats ever since. It was made into a film, which was well loved, and that made me very happy. 15 years later, it was published. Oh my god, holy shit. 15 years after it was first published, it was reissued in a beautiful hardcover edition. I asked my editor, Jennifer Brechel, if we could make it look like a much-loved book from 1922. And she has, and I'm grateful. And, with DC Comics' blessing, Charles Vess has returned to decorate it, and I am delighted. And there was nothing more I could possibly want, except, one day, to write another story about Tristan Thorne. Or, one day, finally, to send poor Jenny Curtin to the town of Wall, as it is now, in search of love and forgetting. Wow, we're 7 minutes in. This might be a 20-minute audio. I don't know. We'll see. Chapter 1, in which we learn of the village of Wall and the curious thing that occurs there every 9 years. There once was a young man who wished to gain his heart's desire, and while that is, as beginnings go, not entirely novel, for every tale about every young man there ever was or will be could start in a similar manner. I promise you I read that properly. What the fuck? There was much about this young man and what happened to him that was unusual, although he never knew the whole of it. I swear to God, I'm competent enough to read words. This guy, it's just... This book makes me feel stupid with the way that the word choice is. The tale started, as many tales have started, in Wall. The town of Wall stands today as it has stood for 600 years, on a high jut of granite amidst a small forest woodland. The houses of Wall are square and old, built of grey stone with dark slate roofs and high chimneys, taking advantage of every inch of space on the rock. The houses lean into each other, are built one upon the next, with here and there a bush or tree growing out of the side of a building. There's one road from Wall, a winding track rising sharply up the forest where it is lined with rocks and small stones. Followed far enough south, out of the forest, the track becomes a real road, paved with asphalt. Followed further, the road gets larger and is packed at all hours, with cars and trucks rushing from city to city. Eventually, the road takes you to London, but London is a whole night's drive from Wall. The inhabitants of Wall are a taciturn breed. I think that's how you pronounce it. Taciturn. Taciturn, I would assume? Not taciturn. That sounds weird. Like taciturn, yeah. The inhabitants of Wall are a taciturn breed, falling into two distinct types. The native Wall folk, is Wall folk one word? Or is it like a Spider-Man type of thing? Because it has Wall-folk, but I don't know if that's because it's one word, or if it's because it's like a Spider-Man thing. I don't know. As gray and tall and stocky as the granite outcrop their own town was built upon, and the others who have made wall their home over the years, and their descendants. Below Wall on the west is the forest. To the south is a treacherously placid lake served by the streams that drop from the hills behind Wall to the north. There are fields upon the hills, on which sheep graze. To the east is more woodland. Immediately to the east of Wall is a high gray rock wall, which from the town takes its name. The wall is old, built of rough, square lumps of hewn granite. Hewn. Hewn. I'm assuming that's hewn. And comes from the woods and goes back to the woods once more. Here's a fun game for you. Count how many words I don't know how to pronounce, and you can hit me that many times the next time you see me. We're on page 3, and it's already 2. Oh, no. There is only one break in the wall, an opening about 6 feet in width, a little to the north of the village. Through the gap in the wall can be seen a large green meadow. Beyond the meadow, a stream, and beyond the stream there are trees. From time to time, shapes and figures can be seen. Amongst the trees in the distance, huge shapes and odd shapes in small, glimmering things which flash and glitter and are gone. Although it is perfectly good meadowland, none of the villagers have ever grazed animals on the meadow on the other side. Of the wall. No, sorry, I'm going to reread this whole paragraph. Through the gap in the wall can be seen a large green meadow. Beyond the meadow, a stream. And beyond the stream, there are trees. From time to time, shapes and figures can be seen. Amongst the trees, in the distance, huge shapes and odd shapes, and small, glimmering things, which flash and glitter and are gone. Although it is perfectly good meadowland, none of the villagers has ever grazed animals on the meadow on the other side of the wall, nor have they used it for growing crops. Instead, for hundreds, perhaps for thousands of years, they have posted guards on each side of the openings of the wall and done their best to put it out of their minds. Even today, 2 townsmen stand on either side of the opening, night and day. Taking 8-hour shifts, they carry hefty wooden cudgels. They flank the opening on the side of town. On the town side, sorry. Their main function is to prevent the town's children from going through the opening, into the meadow and beyond. Occasionally, they are called upon to discourage a solitary rambler or one of the few visitors from town going through the gateway. The children they discourage simply with displays of the cudgel. I know the word, I don't know what a cudgel is. I like to think about it. Where ramblers and visitors are concerned, they are more inventive, only using physical force as a last resort if tales of new planted grass or dangerous bull on the loose are not sufficient. Very rarely someone comes to Wall knowing what they are looking for. In these people, they will sometimes allow through. There is a look in the eyes, and once seen, it cannot be mistaken. There have been no cases of smuggling across the wall in all the 20th century that the townsfolk know of, and they pride themselves on this. The guard is relaxed once every 9 years, on May Day, when a fair comes to town. I wonder how long this first paragraph is. I'm just flipping through, don't mind me. Because I was going to do the first paragraph, but then I realized I'm a slow reader. And that might take a little more than 10 minutes, a little more than 15 minutes. I don't know if... Oh my god, really? Wow, okay. At the pace that we're going, I'll be here for an hour reading the first chapter. Which I'm sure you wouldn't mind, but I don't know if that's what you were necessarily asking for. Whatever. We'll see how it goes. The events that followed transpired many years ago. Queen Victoria was on the throne of England, but she was not yet the black-clad widow of Windsor. She had apples in her cheeks and a spring in her step, and Lord Melbourne often had cause to upbraid gently the young queen for her flightiness, I guess. She was, as yet, unmarried, although she was very much in love. Mr. Charles Dickens was serializing his novel Oliver Twist. Mr. Draper had just taken the first photograph of the moon, freezing her pale face on cold paper. Mr. Morse had recently announced a way of transmitting messages down metal wires. I don't know if that's like... what's his name really? Mr. Morse? I guess that makes sense, but that's kind of dumb. Had you mentioned magic or fairy to any of them, they would have smiled at you disdainfully, except perhaps for Mr. Dickens, at the time a young man and beardless. He would have looked at you wistfully. People were coming to British Isles that spring. They came in ones and they came in twos, and they landed at Dover or in London or in Liverpool. Men and women with skins as pale as paper, skins as dark as volcanic rock, skins the color of cinnamon, speaking in a multitude of tongues. They traveled all the way through April, and they traveled by steam train, by horse, by caravan, or cart, and many of them walked. At that time, Dustin Thorne was 18, and he was not a romantic. Dustin Thorne is not the person this is about. Okay. Who is this? He had nut brown hair, and nut brown eyes, and nut brown freckles. Good for you, man. He was middling tall and slow of speech. Same. He had an easy smile, not same, which illuminated his face from within, and he dreamed when he daydreamed. And he dreamed when he daydreamed in his father's meadow of leaving the village of Wall and all its unpredictable charm, and going to London or Edinburgh or Dublin, or some great town where nothing was dependent on which the way the wind was blowing. He worked on his father's farm and owned nothing save a small cottage. What? He worked on his father's farm and owned nothing save a small cottage in a far field given to him by his own parents. Okay. I get it, but also shut the fuck up with that phrasing. Visitors were coming to Wall that April for the fair, and Dunstan resented them. Mr. Bromeo's Inn and the seventh I swear it's Bromeo. Bromios. Oh, it's not Bromeo, it's Bromioses. Okay. Mr. Bromios's Inn, the seventh Magpie, normally a warren of empty rooms, had filled a week earlier, and now the strangers had begun to take the rooms in the farm and private houses, paying for their lodgings with strange coin, with herbs and spices, and even with gemstones. As the day of the fair approached and the atmosphere of anticipation mounted, people were waking earlier, counting days, counting minutes. The guards on the gate at the sides of the wall were restive and nervous. Figures and shadows moved in the trees at the edge of the meadow. And the seventh Magpie, Bridget Comfrey, is that the girl? Nope. Sorry, I'm looking at the back of the book and checking the names. Bridget Comfrey, who was widely regarded as the most beautiful pot girl in the living memory, was provoking friction between Tommy Forrester, with whom she had been seen to step out over the previous year, and a huge man with dark eyes and a small chittering monkey. Alright, man. Good for you. The man spoke little English, but he smiled expressively whenever Bridget came by. In the pub's tap room, the regulars sat in awkward proximity to the visitor, speaking so. It's only every 9 years. They say in the old days it was every year at midsummer. Ask Mr. Bromios. He'll know. Mr. Bromios was tall and his skin was olive. His black hair was curled tightly on his head. His eyes were green. Sorry, I read his green hair and I was trying to figure out why for a second. As the girls of the village became women, they took notice of Mr. Bromios, but he did not return their notice. It was said he had come to the village quite some time ago, a visitor, but he had stayed in the village, and his wine was so good, the locals agreed. His wine was good, so the locals agreed. Apologies. A loud argument broke out in the public lounge between Tommy Forrester and the dark-eyed man, whose name appeared to be Alumbe. Alumbe? A-L-U-M space B-E-Y. Alumbe. Okay. "Stop them! In the name of heaven, stop them!" shouted Bridget. Oh. "Stop them! In the name of heaven, stop them!" shouted Bridget. "They're going out the back to fight over me." She tossed her head prettily. Prettily? Okay. Interesting word choice. Tossed her head prettily so that the light of the oil lamps caught her perfect golden curls. Nobody moved to stop the men, although a number of the people, villagers and newcomers alike, went outside to spectate. Tommy Forrester removed his shirt and raised his fists in front of him. The stranger laughed and spat onto the grass, then seized Tommy's right hand and sent him flying on the ground, chin first. Tommy clambered to his feet and ran at the stranger. He landed a glancing blow on the man's cheek before finding himself face down in the dirt, his face being slammed into the mud and the wind knocked out of him. Alam Bey sat on top of him and chuckled. He said something in Arabic. That quickly and that easily. The fight was over. Alam Bey climbed off Tommy Forrester and he strutted over to Bridget Comfrey, bowed low to her, and grinned with gleaming teeth. Bridget ignored him and ran over to Tommy. "Why, whatever has he done to you, my sweet?" she asked, and mopped the mud from his face with her apron and called him all manner of endearments. Alam Bey went with the spectators back into the public rooms of the inn, and he graciously bought Tommy Forrester a bottle of Bromios's Chablis. Chablis, maybe, I don't know. Chablis. I think it might just be a drink, I don't know. When Tommy returned, neither of them was quite certain who had won, who had lost. Dustin Thorne was not in the 7th Magpie that evening. He was a practical lad who had, for the last 6 months, been courting Daisy Hempstock, a young woman of similar practicality. They would walk on fair evenings around the village and discuss the theory of crop rotation and the weather and other such sensible matters. On these walks, upon which they were invariably accompanied by Daisy's mother and younger sister walking a healthy 6 paces behind, they would, from time to time, stare at each other lovingly. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-line sentence. You see why I'm having trouble sometimes reading these. At the door to the Hempstocks. Oh, okay. At the door to the Hempstocks, Dustin would pause and bow and take his farewell, and Daisy Hempstock would walk into her house and remove her bonnet and say, "I do wish Mr. Thorne would make up his mind to propose. I am sure Papa would not be averse to it." "Indeed, I'm sure he would not," said Daisy's mamma on this evening, as she said on every evening, and she removed her own bonnet and gloves and led her daughters to the drawing room, in which a very tall gentleman with a long blah 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 blah. And she removed her own bonnet and gloves and led her daughters to the drawing room, in which a very tall gentleman with a very long black beard was sitting, sorting through his pack. Daisy and her mamma and her sister bobbed curtsy to the gentleman, who spoke very little English and had arrived a few days before. The temporary lodger, in his turn, stood and bowed to them, then returned to his pack of wooden oddments, sorting, arranging, and polishing. Ugh, I hate the idea of needing to give up, not at the end of this chapter. But I will say we are about a third of the way through the chapter. I don't know if this is just me being a slow reader or whatnot, but it is at a break in the text, so I will put a break at it for now. I'm sorry. If you want more, you can let me know. I'm currently trying to put on your bookmark. How the fuck do I put on your bookmark? Oh, fuck. I also don't want to break any pages. 1 second. I'll do this while here just because, like, why not, you know? Might as well. How the fuck do you put this on? I don't know if it's just I don't have the nails to open it or what. Or if I should... Oh, nope. Yeah, it was just a nail thing. I don't know. I didn't open it. I just slid it off when I took it off initially. So I didn't know that it was a magnet. I thought it was just a really tightly closed sleeve. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and I hope Discord can handle a file this long. And if not, I'll be uploading this to YouTube, and you will be seeing your name in a YouTube video title. Because I'm definitely going to title this and say, for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that so far.